progress.
Did I do that a little few seconds too soon? We're going to call this meeting to order for the Madras City Council. We have a roll call, please. Oh, no, not yet. Councilor Siebold, yes. You lead us in Pledge of Allegiance, and then Council Rocker will lead us in. No, that comes next.
Okay. It would be an honor, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Can we have roll call, please?
Mayor Lapine.
Present.
Councillor Holcomb. Present. Councillor Siebold.
Present.
Councillor Solis.
Present.
Councillor Spencer.
Present.
Councillor Yoder.
Present.
Councillor Walker.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Lisa. Any changes or additions to the regular agenda? None? The consent agenda.
I move that we unanimously approve the consent agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda approved. Public comments. Is anyone here for public comments? None? How about on Zoom? Anybody on Zoom for public comments? Young men over there in the scout uniforms, were you happen to be the ones at the Veterans Vietnam Welcome Home Dinner? May I say you did a great job there, and I appreciate your service there. Okay, moving on to public hearing. Where's the hearing sheet? Oh, there we go. This is the time and place set for hearing on planning file number AX-22-1. The hearing is now called to order. The hearing will proceed as follows. Staff will present the staff report. Applicant will present its application and support evidence. Any interested persons will then be provided the opportunity to present testimony or evidence in support that is neutral or that is in opposition. Applicant, as the party bearing the burden of proof, will then be afforded an opportunity to present rebuttal testimony. Staff will provide closing comments. Any party may request that the written record remain open to respond to testimony presented at the hearing. At the conclusion of this hearing, the hearing's body may close the hearing and deliberate toward a decision, or close the public hearing and defer deliberations toward a decision at a date and time certain, or continue the public hearing at a date and time certain. All testimony, argument, and evidence must be directed to the applicant criteria or any other approval criteria you believe to be applicable. Matters unrelated to the application are not permitted or pertinent to the council decision in these proceedings. Failure on the part of any person to raise an issue with sufficient specificity to afford the council and parties to the proceeding an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the City Council and Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Councilors must disclose any ex parte contacts, including site visits, biases, or conflicts of interest. Does any councilor have anything to disclose? And if so, please state the nature of the same, whether you intend to participate in these proceedings. The hearing. Does any party wish to challenge any member of the hearings body based on ex parte contact, biases, or conflicts? Staff will now deliver staff report.
Thank you, Mayor Lapine. This evening, we've scheduled a public hearing in anticipation that the Planning Commission would have made a recommendation on the matter to the City Council. However, that hasn't happened. To date, we've had to continue the Planning Commission hearings a number of times for various reasons as identified in the staff report. And so as a result of that, one, we did not include what we normally would include, the findings and decision for the council to consider. And so because of, one, the Planning Commission hasn't made a recommendation to you, two, you don't have the findings, staff's recommending that we continue this hearing till May 9th at 5:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. Recommend that you proceed through the hearing this evening in abundance of caution in case anyone wants to provide any remarks to the council tonight. But it is staff's recommendation that we continue to the date and time as identified in the staff report, which is May 9th at 5:30 p.m. here. With that, might you have any questions before you proceed through the public hearing?
Council have any questions?
Great.
We'll now hear from the applicant.
Now, one of the property owners is, a representative is here. I don't know if they're prepared to make any remarks, but I would just recommend providing the opportunity if they don't request to make comments, then you may proceed.
Yeah. The council, any councilors have questions of the staff?
Do we think that it'll be settled May 9th, or do we anticipate any more delays?
I absolutely cannot answer that question.
Fair enough.
I think,
I know it's outside your control.
well, I think the issue is that we have one property owner who's trying to determine whether they can reasonably subdivide their property, and that affects their interest in participating in the annexation. Those recognized as are two separate but also related land use actions, and so that is really what's causing the hearing to be continued before the Planning Commission and, of course, the council tonight.
Would we ever give that party a deadline before we decide to proceed?
As long as they're willing to extend the 120-day clock, it's not for the city to provide a deadline.
Agreed.
Okay, so if the applicant doesn't wish to make a presentation, is there any testimony in support? Anyone for neutral testimony? Testimony in opposition? Okay, we'll now hear the applicant's rebuttal to the no testimony was presented, so no rebuttal. Does the staff wish to provide anything further?
No, not unless you guys have any questions.
Okay. And the council only has three options. Close the hearing now and deliberate towards a decision this evening. Or you can close the hearing, defer deliberation towards a time and date certain, or continue the public hearing to a time and date certain. How does the council wish to proceed?
I make a motion that council continue the public hearing for file AX-22-1 to May 9th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. at City Hall, and that the record is to remain open for the matter.
Second.
Did you catch the second, Lisa?
I caught two.
Councilor Spencer was louder. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. If there's no other further questions, I will now close the public hearing at 5:39. Okay, move on to the regular agenda. First is strategic goals adoption. Christie.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, city councilors. It's a pleasure to see you this evening. I know you've been working very hard on your strategic plan goals for this year, and we met yesterday in work session. And so before you tonight is an updated version of what was discussed yesterday, and there should be additional copies for the public if there's any interest in those. But I'm going to go ahead and take the time to review what those changes are for the benefit of Councilor Spencer, who wasn't with us for the work session. Just to update on page 1 of the strategic plan goals, we did clean up and add our new Director of Police Services, Tim Plummer, to the department head team on page 1. So that is the only revision that I noted there. Moving on to section 2. On page 2, goal 2, we identify key stakeholders under the mission statement. Item G, explore opportunities to revise the city charter. That was an additional goal that was added by the council. Item H would be to identify opportunities to establish greener and more effective energy efficient practices was added by the council. Moving on to page 3, item C under Public Works, a clarification that we would be identifying funding to pave 100% of the unpaved streets, and that's a goal for this next year. We clarified the language in item C6 to state, begin the strategy for transportation improvements funding measure. And then finally, staff did make some cleanups in section E under HR just to create action items. Those items didn't change, but the language is slightly different because we, instead of the prior goal of saying, I can't remember what we had here. Let's look. Before we had just listed city administrator recruitment, and we've changed it to an action item that says recruit for city administrator. So we made those few cleanups as well. The one item that we discussed, Councilor Spencer, for your benefit, was we weren't quite sure what the intent behind item C5 under finance, which is provide council with vendor connections ethics report. That does remain on the list, but we weren't quite sure what that meant.
And I said this?
Our recollection from the work session was that this was your request to have this particular item under finance.
I don't even, I did say a lot of things, but this one, I don't even understand what it is. I am sorry. So if you wish, you can take it out, but this is not even a words. No. The only thing I was saying at that point is just to align the budget with the strategic goals. That's what I was repeating all the time, but no.
So can we possibly strike that line?
My recommendation would be to, after my own research into what that is, I don't think that that's something really connected with government. It's more of a private sector requirement.
So can I entertain a motion to approve this with that amendment of striking line 5 in subsection C?
I move that we strike goal number 4, section C, item 5, provide council with vendor connections ethics report from the strategic goals document.
Is that with approve with that amendment?
Yes, that concludes all of the changes to the strategic goals, and we'd just be looking for a motion to approve the amended document.
Well, it hasn't been approved, so you have to make the motion to approve that document with that amendment.
Correct.
Okay, so I move that council adopt the 2023-24 strategic goals with any changes discussed during the March 27-23 work session, including the striking of goal number 4, section C, number 5, provide council with vendor connections ethics report.
I'll second that.
Is that goal 4 or goal 5?
Goal 4, item C5.
Oh, I see. You're right. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Other than mine. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Lisa, does that motion work for you as far as adopting the one that's physically in front of us? Because the wording is a little bit off in there.
It'll work because it's the intent, and I got the adoption part in there, so. And everyone here is in agreement, so.
Thank you.
Okay. Agreement for Services Child Abuse Multidisciplinary Intervention. Director Plummer, did you want to take that? It's either you or Crystal.
Probably better in line for Crystal to do it. I stepped out of the meeting this morning, only having been in it about 20 minutes.
Fair enough, Crystal?
Thank you. So we have an ongoing grant. We've had it for a number of years now. And because of the timing of when they need the grant submitted by April 10th, then we need to go ahead and sign our agreement to accept the grant funds. And this helps pay for Detective Sergeant Steve Webb's wages. This is one of 2 grants that help support that. I could answer questions if you have them.
Any of the counselors have questions?
Seemed pretty straightforward. I support the program. I think it's great.
Can I entertain a motion then?
I make a motion that council authorize the mayor to sign the agreement for services for the Jefferson County Child Abuse Multidisciplinary Intervention Team effective July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass unanimous. Thank you. Resolution number 04-2023, Hoffman Park. Michelle.
Good evening, Council. So this is the resolution I spoke to you about during our last meeting. It's a requirement for the grant that we pass a resolution committing the funds. I was able to get, actually yesterday, like right at 5 o'clock, I was able to get a rendition of the changes that was requested after last meeting. So this is kind of an idea of what we're looking at to reduce the green space and have more natural area. So tonight, if you have any questions about anything in front of you, I can answer any of those questions, but just looking for the resolution so we can get the grant in.
I like the rendering. Appreciate this. This really helps visualize it. So I think it looks awesome. I think you did a great job.
Thank you for your efforts. I know that we threw a lot at you really fast, so I appreciate the efforts. I also appreciate the fact that you did a big dog park and a small. I think it's important, and just for listening to our requests, getting the restroom added. I think this is a great stepping stone, but we'll be able to utilize it. Hopefully we'll get the grant and build on this idea.
Yeah. One thing that I like about it is the fact that we do have all of the space, like it's numbered number 9, the walking trail. So it opens up for later down the road. If we decide to expand further green space, we can, or we can just leave it natural if everybody likes it. So it does open up options for the park. And we'll also be able to conserve water by not having as much green space. So.
I also congratulate you once again in the effort, and this goes along with our goals, right? To beautify our place, to make it more green, and to make it more habitable for everybody. So I would approve this.
This was actually quite an impressive task for Michelle after everything that was thrown at her at the last meeting. She took this and actually made it much more diverse. Somebody was smiling on her because one of the concerns was about the water that got there, and the water lines actually do reach the park. So that was exceptional there. And just all the things she was able to put into play there, that in my mind makes it even a much better park than what was originally submitted. So Michelle, thank you for your work on this.
Welcome.
I make a motion that council approve resolution number 042023.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it passed unanimous. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Notice of scrivener error on resolution number 02-2023. Crystal.
So you may wonder if I brought this last time, and you would be correct in assuming that I did. So I tried to fix it last time and realized that my entire spreadsheet had become corrupted. So after a little bit of work, it went mostly back to the original scrivener's error posting that we did. So thank you for your patience. I'm not quite sure how the corruption happened, but it did. So we just need to, it's my job to bring it forward and to let you know that there was an error in the original resolution. So Charles, if you can scroll to, yep, next page. The highlighted areas there are the changes. Transportation's Ops Fund, I'm changing it by $10. That's what first caught my eye. And if you can go down just a little bit further, Charles. And there was one change there, the $812,000. So those are the changes. I apologize for my error. And if you would please adopt that, I would appreciate it.
Would you entertain a motion, Mayor, or is there discussion?
Does anybody have any discussion or comments or questions?
I make a motion that council acknowledge receipt of the error in resolution 02-2023 and approve the modification as proposed.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimous. Thank you, Crystal. Big signature card updates.
Yes, sir. So with Mr. Burrell's absence and Mrs. Worcester's coming on board, we need to make some changes at the bank level. And so this is the formal authorization doing that. So.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion?
I move that council authorize First Interstate Bank to make the changes outlined below, which would be removing Gus Burrell and adding Christy Worcester.
I second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. And fiscal policies review, Crystal.
Thank you very much. So part of our budget calendar is reviewing our fiscal policies every year. This is a draft before you, and on page 7 of the fiscal policies is actually the only change that I'm recommending this year. Due to the cost of products and services, specifically capital asset type related items, the Public Works Director has requested that we move the amount from $10,000 to $25,000. The impact to the bottom line isn't substantial in any way. It does create easier tracking mechanisms so that we don't have, let's say, a pump or a blower for $10,200 that we have to keep on our asset list, that type of thing. So that truly is the only change that we have in our there from $10,000 to $25,000. Our thought is that if you would review these as you wish, and then we can come back in June as we tie up the budget. If there's anything else that comes up, I can receive feedback from you related to the fiscal policies, and we need to do a little bit of formatting work. And then in June, we can adopt them prior to adopting the budget, if that's amenable to the council.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Just some further clarification on increasing our capitalized assets from 10 to 25 and kind of the logic behind that.
So you as counselors actually get to set the threshold. It's not set by any other jurisdiction or agency. You get to choose the threshold by which you begin capitalizing. So the county may have a different threshold, for example. And so because you get to pick the rate, and because of the cost of blowers and things like that, that really should be more maintenance type items as opposed to on an asset list that we need to track every time we replace a blower. That's the reason why. We did remove in prior years, this was adopted so that the fleet or the rolling stock is capitalized at $5,000. That's specific and intentional so that we don't have equipment that we're not inventorying and capturing, because every year I manage the asset list and the insurance list simultaneously to make sure that we haven't lost any equipment. So it's just one way to do that.
Only question I would have, is there any sort of resource, like a best practice industry standard that we would be able to draw on, any recommendation from any governing agency or anything like that, League of Warren Cities or anything, or are we just gonna come up with our own number based on what we are comfortable with? Just really more of just a food for thought thing that we can look into down the road as we explore this.
Sure, I can look into it more if you want, but some agencies are $100,000. They don't capitalize till they get to that threshold, so.
Awesome, thank you. It's to me, it's not time sensitive, just something to think about between now and June.
Okay, we'll move on to city vouchers.
I need to recuse myself as I may have provided services or sold goods to the city of Madras.
Thank you, Councilor Walker.
The vouchers before you are for February. I would appreciate your review and approval of those. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
I move that council approve the February 2023 city vouchers as submitted.
Second.
I heard Councilor Yoder. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah, unanimous. Thank you, Crystal. Legislative funding request for Homeless Services Center. Nick.
Yeah, staff's been working on managing the Homeless Service Center project, and recently Public Works has actually bid that project and received bids back, and we're moving forward with it. Was talking with the Central Oregon Cities organization's lobbyist Doug Riggs last week, and noted to him that we needed some additional funding. And the response was, hey, get me a one-pager real quick. We don't have much time left in the session. So I drafted what you're seeing there in the packet and on the screen. It's basically one-pager showing us we need lots, actually quite a bit of funding. The request from the legislature through Doug Riggs, working with Representative Owens and Senator Finley, would be $500,000. I was last Thursday. Now we actually know, we think we need actually a little bit more money, but staff has a plan for this. And so we're looking for funding in a couple different pots, hopefully to get lucky with at least one of them. I'm not as optimistic about funding coming from the legislature, just because this is coming a little bit late in the session and where things stand right now. But I believe that the governor's homeless bill will be approved fairly soon, and there is some bricks and mortar funding in that. And that the intent behind that is to get those dollars out on the street fairly quickly. So that may be one opportunity in addition to the direct legislative request. The third is staff was advised last week from CYC that they have $14 million for regional homelessness efforts. And so those dollars need to be spent fairly quickly by January 10, 2024. And it appears that we meet most of the requirements of that, if not all of them. So this would be a perfect project for that. So We're looking for funding. The reason you have this request on your agenda this evening is it's practice that if we're going to make a request to the legislature, whether it be a position on a bill or a funding request, the council approve that prior to formally being requested. And so that's the matter before you this evening.
I find that this initiative is very important for the community. It goes along with your effort, and going around. So I personally would authorize and encourage it.
Yeah, I would feel the same way. I think that the mayor's got his homelessness initiative, and I support that. And I think that we've embarked upon this process, and I think we want to see it through to completion. So I support.
Entertain a motion.
I can do the motion that the council authorize the request for $500,000 from the Oregon legislatures for additional funding for the Homeless Service Center.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Nick. Temporary extension of World Fuel Services Agreement. Crystal.
Thank you. I'm actually going to defer to Mrs. Worcester, and I'll fill in.
Okay.
Okay.
Good evening again, Mayor and City Councilors. Before you this evening is a request to extend the contract that we have with World Fuel Services for fuel to supply our municipal airport. We've had a 5-year contract with them that is set to expire June 30th of this year. A provision in that contract states that we need to give them a 90-day notice of an intent to terminate, or the contract rolls into an additional 5-year agreement. As you know, we're in the process of receiving proposals from FBOs to manage the airport site or to be on site alongside our manager. And one of the provisions of that contract will be negotiating the fuel, whether we provide it, whether they provide it. And we haven't got to the point where we've evaluated the proposals and made a determination and entered into negotiations with a potential FBO. So at this point, what we're doing is requesting an extension of that agreement. Crystal has already reached out to the fuel provider, and they have agreed to extend the agreement for an additional 6 months. And that's what we're asking for, to ensure that we have adequate fuel to supply our municipal airport through the fire season.
Well, that's great that they agreed for the 6-month extension.
Yeah, that seems eminently reasonable to me. Would rather do that than a 5-year extension while we figure out the FBO, so I would support this.
Can entertain a motion.
I move that council authorize a 6-month extension of services between the City of Madras and World Fuel Services to provide fuel services at the Madras Municipal Airport.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's all unanimous. Thank you, Christy. Okay, we're going to move on to department reports. Director Plummer, welcome.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you. Since we last met and we had some conversations, we got some exciting news about recruitment. We have one of our applicants moving forward in the process to the point where they're almost completely through it. We have 2 others that have, one of which received a background interview today. Another one will receive a background interview on Saturday. We've also been contacted or reaching out to 2 laterals that we're beginning to have and enter in conversations with them. So that's really a lot of positive things to put forward. On the MDT realm, as I've prompted Randy to reach out to our folks on those, the word is, barring any slowdown or shipping issues or configuration issues, we should be seeing those, we're hoping, by the end of the week. So those are some positive things that have been taking place just since our last conversation. So thank you.
Director Promo, thank you for that outstanding report. That's great news. Finance, Crystal.
Can I,
Oh,
it's a report, can we ask questions, or we have to wait for the end of that?
do you
It's
have
just
a question?
report. It's just to, basically to say that it's very important, and thanks for being with us, and that it's extremely important, everything that you're doing right now, and I think I can talk for all the council, is that you have our most upper level of importance of what you're doing. And that means if you need us, you call us, and anything support it, because public safety is the first goal that we have, and we need it fixed as soon as possible. So that's basically what I'm going to say. Thanks for helping us out.
If I may, just to follow up, thank you very much, because that sentiment is really doing a lot to bolster the spirit and the morale of our folks that we have that are working so hard. So thank you.
Crystal.
Thank you very much. So my item is actually on a piece of paper in front of you. It's potentially a revised budget calendar. So we didn't add it to your agenda because I don't need you to vote on it per se, but I do need some feedback, please. So with the addition of an interim city administrator, there are, of course, a lot of questions regarding the budget and what projects we're going to do and all of those types of things. So the suggestion before you is to move our budget meetings from April into May. The 3 meeting dates that we have are May 11th, 16th, and 18th. So we're asking the council, would you support that? And if so, I'll bring this back as an action item that we can adopt. And if you're having conflict, I need to know that too, so that we can adjust.
My question would be, is there any way to have that binders before May 9? There's only 2 days for the first meeting, and to be meaningful, we need more time to review it.
So, sure, that's no problem. They can be available ahead, but not before May 1st.
At least that's another week. That would be great.
And then please be aware that the public receives them, the budget committee receives them at the same time that the city council receives them. So they would all be available at City Hall.
I have no conflict with those dates.
I have no issue with the shift. I have to double check my schedule. I don't have it on me, but I likely would have no conflict, but I have no problem with it in principle.
I see no conflict with my schedule.
I have conflict with the 11th, but it's just me, so we'll work around it.
Okay. That would be the night that the community grants are presented.
I could potentially attend over Zoom, but I trust my fellow counselors can make, and I'll share I'll review the requests and give any feedback that I have to other counselors before I leave.
Perfect. And we'll have all of those community grant requests on Teams so that you can all have them for your review.
We'd also throw out, and I don't know how staff feel about it, but the possibility of having those be a complete separate day beforehand, before the 11th. It would also help shorten a budget meeting in of itself if we meet and go over those requests separately. Don't know how anybody else feels about it, but.
I think it's a good idea.
Me too.
Is that an option, Crystal and Christy?
Anything's an option.
I want the moon.
Well,
Is that something
I'm
we
not
could put in
God.
the work session, one of the scheduled work sessions?
Yes, we can put this on a discussion for our next work session if you'd like.
Sorry, Mike.
we could just propose some more dates. So the goal is, tell me the goal.
My recommendation would be to move the community grants to a complete separate date, maybe move it to the 9th, and then the 11th and the 16th dates stay the same. We're just moving that aspect.
The 9th is a
out
city
of it.
council meeting.
Oh, you're correct. So 8th or the 10th even, somewhere that Jennifer is able to attend and be involved with that aspect.
We're going to check on Planning Commission on the 10th. No Planning Commission, so we could do the 10th.
Let's not plan around me because I have a baseball game every night that week. So I'm happy to communicate with you ahead of time, whatever works for the majority.
Okay.
So the idea is community grants could just be on the 11th. We could do that, and then you would have 2 budget committee meetings after that for everything other than community grants.
That's actually, I mean, we've tried to do it all at one time, and we don't get much done after the community grant. So I'm in agreement with separating that just for the time factor.
Yep.
Okay, so
But then if you do the 11th, the community grants, and then do the other 2, 16, 18, we only have 2 days in between instead of from the 11th to the 16 was, a week almost. We need more days in between to work it and to think about it.
If we do the community grants separate, we may not need a second meeting. At least historically, we've been able to get it done, even though it was a long evening, even with the community grants. So we may be able to just, see how it goes, but I think it would work better this way.
I like it. We'll do the community grants on the 11th and then move budget committee meeting on the 16th and reserve for the 18th. Does that sound agreeable?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, thank you, Lisa.
So we won't put it on the future work session.
Say again?
So we won't put it on.
So we will not put it on the work session. I don't want to torture Mike over there. I'm sorry. I know he just wants to share so much. So. Okay. Anything else, Crystal?
No, sir, that's good.
Thank you. Nick?
Yeah, just a couple updates. Last week, we had our third and last housing work group meeting. That work group was focused on updating our Goal 10 element of our comprehensive plan, in particular the housing needs analysis. And so that meeting went fairly well. We're going to start with work sessions before the Planning Commission and City Council soon. So we'll be seeing that. You'll be seeing that on one of your work session agendas. Kind of a spoiler alert, a lot of this work normally is done for a community that has an expectation or desire to expand their urban growth boundary. That wasn't actually our intent or kind of mindset when we started this project. The analysis, it goes back to 2007 right now, so it's quite old, and we need to update those numbers for policy considerations only. So, not really controversial, but we will bring it to you in a work session with our consultant, and we'll give you guys some time to think about that before we schedule the required public hearing before the City Council. So, just a heads up on that. And then another thing that's coming to you, we need to adopt some code amendments for particular development in town that's planned behind the movie theater, and wanted to give a heads up to the council on that. I've been working with the city attorney, Garrett, our land use attorney, on this. The need for the code update is to actually adopt private street standards. We don't currently even have those at all. And so this development needs that for a variety of reasons. The city attorney has advised that we don't, because it's in the standards and specifications, that we don't need to go through the hearings process through the Planning Commission and City Council, which is why I'm telling you this evening as a kind of a heads up. So I would expect in the next month or maybe latest 2 months to have a draft ordinance before you. And if needed, you wouldn't need to vote on it that night. If you want to let it sit and cool and think about it, that's fine. But eventually we need to get that adopted. We have, I think they're planning 30 or 40 dwellings on that property, which would be a nice addition to our community. So, just a heads up on that. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. So you're right, I do have a lot to talk about in work sessions. One of those is US 97. This is the ODOT project, which is coming through town. They would like to come to one of the work sessions, so I'm trying to get them here May the 8th so that they can do a presentation for you. There's been a lot of questions. There's been a lot of activity on it lately. This is for the access management, so they are coming through 4th and 5th Street. They're closing driveways. They have their own standards when they look at these. Some of these are permitted, some of these are not permitted. So this is what they're going to be talking with you about and doing a presentation. I don't believe anyone really has seen this other than me because I sit anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a week in these meetings. They're very intense. They go through every single driveway. We talk about every single one. So I'm kind of giving you a heads up now that some of these are not going to be popular. It's not always good when you're closing driveways for businesses if they have two and they cut them down to one. So this is what they will be talking with you about. The next thing I've got is G Street water line. Believe it or not, everything underground is done. It's finished. So all we have left is we have some sidewalks, concrete work, and paving. And then this will all be done by the end of June. So we'll have a nice water line, street, sidewalk. So it's turned out to be a really good job. The last thing I really have is the pavement analysis, the one that I keep talking about. I finally did a staff report today because I finally got some numbers together. We've got a company that's willing to come in, so I'm going to bring that to you April the 11th so that you can take a look at it and hopefully move forward so we can get this program going.
It's starting to sound exciting.
Can I ask, I guess, Michelle, basically for the Arbor Day? I learned how important in Madras. I mean, it's 30 years. And could you say something about the advancement it is? I mean, it's really important, the number of years that you have qualified for it, and I did not know that.
Yeah, so the city of Madras has been a Tree City USA for 30 years. This will be our 30th year. In the month of April, we'll bring the proclamation for our Arbor Day. The Urban Forestry Commission is the one that chooses the day and the week that we will recognize, I guess you would say, our Arbor Day. We meet next week for Urban Forestry, and we will be judging the posters. I already have some that's already been submitted from some kindergarten classes, so that's exciting. We're going to be having our event this year up along Burke Drive. We're going to plant 20 trees. We're hoping to have a big turnout like we did last year from the kids. We teach them about trees and the importance. So it's going to be exciting. So you're all invited to come and participate. We have also the high school. The Key Club will also come and they help do activities with the kids. We don't have enough little shovels and stuff for everybody to be planting a tree at once, so we rotate them in shifts so that they all get a chance to participate in planting the trees. Last year they did rock painting and they made little buttons, like I love tree buttons. So they're going to do that again this year. So it should be, hopefully the weather will be good and the kids will get to come and have a good time. And being up by the airport, they'll be able to maybe see some planes go in and out too. So that'll be exciting.
I just want to say again, congratulations. You're very humble. I mean, I really learned throughout the United States, there are not many that have 30 years of recognition. I mean, that's how important, and I think this should be even a bigger event, you know, hopefully the newspaper or us. I mean, and really, just to learn about. So congratulations once again.
Can I ask what time and day that is?
I think we picked April 28th. I'll get it to you. I don't want to say and misspeak.
Totally understand.
I'll get the date and the time out to everybody.
Michelle, did you want to continue your report?
The goats are almost done.
I was going to ask. Are
They
they
ha-
going to get moved further west, or will they get
Actually,
relocated?
they are back behind Public Works again. They're on the last section where we couldn't have them last time. So they're ending. It was a good spot for them to begin and end because it's flat and they can load and unload. I'm hoping to get out and get some pictures this week. Went out and took a bunch of before pictures, so I want to go out and get some after. And if I can get them all rounded up, I will include them in the this time for council to look through, the additional things. I'll try to get some pictures in so you can see. I've talked to Chief Blake, and he said he's amazed at the work that they have done, a really good job of clearing out the brush and stuff, and so it's exciting.
It was quite entertaining to see goats standing on top of each other attacking that juniper tree. So. Thank you. Anything else?
No, that's all.
Okay. Charo.
Thank you, Mayor. Just two quick things. Your city recorder position is posted. And on April 3rd, coming up here, our new airport manager, Derek Abels, will be starting. That's it.
Thank you. How about the recruiting for law enforcement? What have we done for that so far? Is that up on Christie?
What's that?
The recruiting for what we talked about before, recruiting for law enforcement. Where have we reached out on that?
For our...
for laterals?
For which
For lateral
position?
officers?
For our lateral officers. We already get... Tim
Oh,
already
you
gave
did?
you the
Okay.
update. Yeah.
That's right, I'm sorry.
Sorry about the confusion.
That's fine, I'll wake up. Christie?
Well, I'm starting week 2, and I have to communicate that we have an amazing staff that has taken on a lot of additional responsibility throughout this transition, and I just want to commend them for the excellent work that they're doing on behalf of the city. I've had a warm welcome here and had the opportunity to attend the Jefferson County Fire and EMS banquet last Friday evening. I was thoroughly impressed not only with the number of employees that were represented there that evening, but also the strong volunteer base that serves our community, and we should be exceptionally proud of the work that they're doing for us in serving the community. That evening, all of the awards were presented. This was the first banquet since the 2 organizations have joined into one. And as part of that recognition, Mayor Lapine was actually recognized for his leadership in the department and received the Chief's Commendation Award. So I'd like to congratulate you, Mayor, on that for your excellence, not only here at the city, but in serving in your regular job for the Jefferson County Fire and EMS service. And
I don't have anything to fire back at you like I did to Jeff.
And then the last thing I just wanted to note is that we have a joint city-county meeting scheduled on April 5th. And we've been working on the agenda items, and currently we're going to be talking about the introduction of both me and our new interim police services director. We're going to give an update on the recruitments both for the city of Madras and Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. The county has proposed that we discuss the Tops Trailer Park update, the RV dump station at the fairgrounds update, and the Madras Food Bank Community Development Block Grant application. So that's currently where the agenda stands, and if there are any additional items, if you'd please let me know so that we can get those to Lisa before tomorrow. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Christie. Lisa.
I just wanted to let council know that I'm working on your yard debris, curbside yard debris survey. I had a few glitches, but Director Sneed's letting me in his Survey Monkey account so I can get in there, and I'll have to rewrite it, so it'll take me a little while, but I'm working on it. It's like his top secret. But So I may have to rewrite it and start over in that, but just know I'm working on it in between everything else. I'll get it out there.
Thank you. Jeremy, are you online?
I am, Mayor.
Welcome back.
I have nothing to thank you. Appreciate it. I have nothing to report this evening.
Thank you. Council, as I go around with you, please remember to give us some kind of tidbit to report on the committees that you represent. Councilor Holcomb?
I missed the EDCO meeting, so I'm just being honest. Something else going on. So I cannot update on that, but I will make a point to get there next time. And I want to thank staff and our interims, and I just acknowledge there's a lot going on right now. And really want to thank council for the work that we've done on the annual strategic plan. I know that's completely different, but I'm excited about the changes and the new direction that we're going.
I would like to echo Councilor Holcomb's excitement about the direction of the city. I also wanted to mention a couple weeks ago, Madras hosted the League of Oregon Cities, Small Cities, and I wanted to give a shout out to both Charo and Lisa for doing a great job hosting it, catering it, taking care of everybody, did an absolutely great job. So I thought you guys deserve recognition for that. I did also want to say that Gary was there and Councilor Solis was there. One of my main goals of that was to try to build better relationships. So I took it upon myself to talk with the leadership of Metolius and Culver and all these cities, and we're discussing perhaps having the councilors get together quarterly or semi-annually and kind of share best practices and that kind of stuff. So I think that sometimes we can all be siloed in a little bit of an island upon ourselves amongst the cities. So I think the mayors want to coordinate, the councilors want to coordinate, so I see a big synergy there. So moving forward on that front, and that's the main thing I wanted to report.
And I don't have anything to update, and the COIC board won't meet until the first Thursday of next month, so I'll have an update on that next meeting.
So just a little bit of update. I don't have much to give, but an update on the airport committee. We did have one applicant for the FBO operator, so I guess we'll see how that turns out.
I want to say I was out 3 weeks on vacation. I had it for some time. And there's a firewall that doesn't allow to get into emails, etc. If you're out of the country. So I have to ask for IT. And so I was not able to participate in my committee. And I was not able to participate here. So I'm sorry about that. But what I could do say is that when I came back, I had 3 newspapers waiting for me. And I just noticed that it was thicker, bigger, and with a lot of more news that are coming from the council, from the things that are happening here, and caught my attention. So as Jennifer says, I say everyone is working hard. Things are, in the direction that at least we have heard to do. So it was nice.
Everybody's looking at me, I'm last. Okay. So I do appreciate the city employees picking up the slack. That's really, really neat, and we really appreciate you guys. So thank you very much. And then new people, thank you for stepping in and helping our fair community out. Hopefully you'll want to move over here later sometime, but or at least visit us. And only thing I have to report is same thing that Michelle did about Arbor Day, and we may see some pictures in here after we get through judging them and collecting them all. And thank you, Tony, for coming this evening, and hopefully you can see some moving forward as government moves slow, and bigger government, the slower it seems to work. But we can see a little progress on that project, and we're anxious for those people to be cared for. So thanks for coming and checking it out, and hope to have better news for you as time moves on.
Thank you, counselors. The one committee I can say I'm along to has just been formed by resolution at the last meeting. We have not had a meeting yet, but the team is now complete, as Mr. Mitchell there can confirm. So we're excited to get that started. I want to say thank you to the staff and counselors who stepped up and covered my butt for not being at the League of Oregon Cities meeting. It's pretty shame that the mayor doesn't appear for that, but I was already committed to something else. So thank you for filling in and covering for me. I appreciate that. Tim and Christy, welcome to your first meeting here. Thank you for making a good show and giving excellent reports. Staff, the counselors I know are very excited that you're here and the work that you've already jumped in doing beforehand. So thank you very much. Scouts, it's about over. You can get out of this meeting and actually have a good time and continue to do the good work you guys are doing. So anybody have any questions or comments besides that? All right, then I'll adjourn the meeting at 6:30.